those March. You're trying to Audit. All right, we're going to call the Committee on Audit to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Peterson Mayberry, Commissioner Colleen.
Here.
Commissioner Garza.
Here.
Commissioner Knizik. Chair Dobb.
Here.
You have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item.
B, Chairwoman's remarks.
I have none. Next item.
C, approval of the November 12th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Approval, Madam Chair.
Been moved by Commissioner Colleen. Is there support for the meeting minutes?
Commissioner Garza supported.
We're using it's been supported by Commissioner Garza. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carried.
All right, next item.
D, unfinished business. There is none listed.
Next item.
Moving to item 1 under new business. Forwarding the Office of Legislative Auditor General's performance audit report on the Wayne County Department of Economic Development Emergency Rental Assistance Program.
Okay, I'll turn this over to our Auditor General, Marcy Coro.
Marcy Coro, Auditor General, and we have guests. If they could join us at the table, then I'll have staff introduce themselves and then guests.
Will Hamner, Audit Manager.
Crystal Thomas, Supervisory Auditor.
Axel Andrews, Legislative Auditor 3.
Anthony Cartwright, Interim Director, Economic Development.
Lucius Anthony, Assistant Director of Economic Vitality.
Darcy Martin, Senior Public-Private Partnership Manager for Economic Vitality.
Welcome.
What you have before you today, this is our performance audit report on the Wayne County Economic Development Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And I'm going to turn it over to the audit team and they'll go through the PowerPoint presentation. I do have hard copies if anybody would like a hard copy, but I did send it out yesterday.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye. May proceed.
Marcy,
Sure.
can I have a copy if there's an extra one?
Okay, as Marcy indicated,
Well, could you move your microphone a little bit? Thank you.
as Marcy indicated, we conducted a performance audit on the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Our objectives for this particular engagement was to assess compliance with grant regulations, assess the effectiveness and efficiency in achieving the program's mission, and assess the county's on-site monitoring of the subrecipient activities. The engagement was conducted in accordance with generally accepted governmental auditing standards, and our engagement scope covered the inception of the program, which primarily was from September 20th through 2021. And I think it closed its portal in November of 2022, but we had some additional field work. So that's why we have the date of March 24th, 2025. The methodology used for this particular program was interviews with the key members of management. We had inquiries, we examined the documentation, we looked at the administrators' database files, conducted analytical procedures, and we had some limited discussions with that third-party administrator. Just some background information on this particular program. Due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the impact it had on renters and landlords, Congress, as we all know here at this table, created a $25 billion emergency rental assistance program. There were 2 programs made available to assist low-income households that were unable to pay for rent or utilities due to job loss and or the economic downturn. Funds were administered to state and local governments and U.S. territories. The county established its emergency rental assistance program with a federal grant of $32.6 million. In turn, EDD management officials contracted and delegated authority to a third-party administrator to manage the ERA program. That particular contract was totaled $3.2 million. The ERA program was established, as I indicated, to assist those renters and landlords residing in the county who had been financially impacted by the pandemic. To qualify for the program, participants had to have income at or below 80% of the area's median income. And the type of assistance that they provided included rent, utilities, which also included heating costs, water, sewage, and some internet services. Summary of issues that we encountered. We identified 4 control deficiency issues and had 12 recommendations to the department to strengthen its internal control environment over the ERA program. Management agreed with all 12 recommendations within the 4 issues. And if I can give a caveat here, is that during our engagement, there had been significant management turnover at both the senior and staff levels. So the existing management team we're looking at here were the ones we started with when we started this engagement, but I just wanted to put that on the table. Crystal and Maxwell go over the engagement.
Inconsistent practices when reviewing eligibility and approval. We found numerous inconsistent processes when validating and qualifying applicants' information for the ERA program, along with the deviations from the program's guidebook of rules and practices. Moreover, because we selected a limited sample of 48 applications, 24 tenant applications, and 24 landlord applications to assess, which was less than 1% of the total awardee population of 5,388. The noted conditions above could have been more widespread. Recommendation 2023-01, control deficiency. We recommend when contracting a third-party administrator to administer county programs, economic development management should ensure adequate and ongoing monitoring and review procedures are established for the contractor prior to the program's start date to ensure the control environment is working as intended and meeting the program objectives. Management agreed with the recommendation.
Marcy,
I could just add, if you look on page 8 of our ASPR report, we gave some of the examples.
Marcy, is your microphone on?
If you look on page 8 of the report, there are some examples of some of the deficiencies we found in our field work.
See,
Yep.
thank you. Refugee eligibility. It's on page 10 of the report. ED management contracted a third-party vendor to administer the emergency refugee support program, which provided a 3-month interval of up to 15 months of rental assistance for eligible refugees who entered the U.S. after June 1st, 2021, and were at risk of homelessness during the COVID-19 pandemic. From our limited sample of 10 of 92 participants, we found 3 individuals were awarded $19,470 in program funds, despite not meeting the ERSP refugee eligibility requirement, based on the documentation that was provided to us. All 3 were certified as refugees by the third-party administrator during the initial application process and were subsequently approved by Wayne County officials. Recommendation 2023-02, control deficiency. We recommend management within the EDD establish adequate review, monitoring, and approval procedures when delegating third-party administrators to administer county-funded programs to ensure, A, established internal controls are implemented prior to the program's inception, including but not limited to a sufficient review is conducted of the program participants' documentation that are attempting to qualify for the county programs. And the third party's management staff documents, example checklists, the rationale for approving the initial assessment of the eligibility. B, a documented secondary review is conducted by the county officials prior to the final approval to validate the third party's assessment to ensure only program funds are awarded to the participants that meet all program eligibility requirements. C, any discrepancies that may exist should be discussed and resolved in a timely manner prior to the program awards. Management agreed with all these recommendations. I will now turn it over to Crystal.
Okay, for our second objective, we assess the effectiveness and efficiency in achieving the program's mission. Found on page 12, we speak to the multiple payments to applicants through recertification invitation. Our review of the program identified inconsistencies related to a recertification process and the awarding of payments to applicants. Specifically, we found that not all eligible recipients received a invitation to recertify for additional assistance, while others received multiple recertification payments. These discrepancies indicate inconsistencies in the program's administration, potentially leading to an unequal distribution of funds and overpayments. Further, we were unable to determine from reviewing the administrator's database of applications if the county officials approved the additional payments from the recertification invitation. Our recommendation in the near term, when contracting a third party to administer county programs, Wayne County Economic Development Management should ensure the following: a proper internal control system, including but not limited to review, monitoring, and approval procedures are established prior to the program's implementation by third-party administrators responsible for dispersing county program funds. Perform periodic reviews of third-party administrators' program activities to ensure performance and activities are carried out as intended, and establish a documented review and approval process, including noting the date of review that is completed by county officials prior to signing off as the approver of program funds and third-party assessments. Okay, I can continue on with our third objective. It was to assess the county's on-site monitoring of subrecipient activities. On page 15 in the report, we speak to inaccurate program database information. Our review of the administrator's database found inaccuracies. For example, we found instances where the disposition or status of applications did not always reflect the final determination of the applications. Applications marked as awarded program funds in the database could not be reconciled to the general ledger. Duplicate applications were not always properly identified and flagged in accordance with program policy, as well as we attempted but were unable to reconcile the number of applications received and processed. As of our report date, we identified and management confirmed a discrepancy of 1,122 applications. We recommend management within economic development develop and implement adequate monitoring procedures over the operations of third parties administering county programs to ensure the administrator have established policies and procedures for the following: meeting deadlines and program objectives in compliance with regulations, establishing an effective system of internal controls to catch potential errors and irregularities in a timely manner, require reviewers of program applications, implement procedures to ensure periodic checks are performed to ensure the database system's information is accurate and complete, and conduct periodic checks of the database files to ensure they reflect the applicant's application, final disposition, and management review and approval or disapproval. So in conclusion, overall, the Wayne County Department of Economic Development has been successful in achieving its operational goals and objectives for the county. However, it appears the department encountered challenges with the program due to lack of oversight and monitoring, and the fact that there were senior management and staff turnovers during the scope of review. As a result of the audit, we noted areas where the internal control environment could be strengthened. Specifically, we identified multiple control deficiencies in the program's administration, particularly in eligibility review, approval processes, recertification procedures, and database accuracy. These inconsistencies resulted in potential inequities in assistance distribution, overpayments, and misrepresentation of application statuses. A corrective action plan will not be requested within 30 days after the report is formally received and filed by the Wayne County Commission, as the program is no longer being administered. However, on a go-forward basis, we assert the recommendation should be considered by senior county management in its establishment of internal controls over third-party administrators' delegated authority to administer other county programs. This will conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Marcy?
I just want to say, I think that's what's important in this engagement. We tried to give our recommendations while there will no longer be for this engagement, for this program, because the program longer is now no longer in effect. But these recommendations could be used for any type of program the county has that's administered by a third party. You know, while we have third party administrators running programs, we need to remember that the county is ultimately responsible for any decision that a third party administrator makes. And we need to make sure we are properly monitoring and have the oversight in place.
Okay, great. Before I go to commissioner questions, does the department have any comments?
No, like the audit team said, you know, the regime has pretty much changed since we had the program. The program is no longer in existence. We did review the findings and we agree with Marcella that this can be used for further guidance of grants and things that we're doing in the future.
So I just have one question. Does economic development have any current programs that are being handled by a third party administrator?
The only thing we're not handled, but we are using Analog Group for ARPA funding and legal advice with ARPA.
Okay. All right, commissioners, Commissioner Kniezek. Oh, Commissioner Peterson Mayberry, and then Commissioner Kniezek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair. So I'm glad this is over because there's so many holes in this program. And I know I wasn't here and I know the program is not going forward, but it was good to hear, Marcy, that we know that we are addressing this going forward. So I do have a question as it relates. Do we have a dollar amount? I know this was a sample size that we only selected so many landlords and tenants to go through, but do we know what a dollar amount is to this loss?
Will Hamner, through the chair. Again, we can only provide a impact from the sample we reviewed. So again, because we only reviewed a limited sample, we would believe or assert that, you know, the dollar impact could be greater. But again, we, you know, don't have the ability to do 100% testing.
Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting to see, just even with your sample size, what the dollar amount is. There's so many deficiencies in here that from the examples, and thank you for providing the examples, because I think once you had the initial umbrella statement, it was good to see like what that looked like. So that's one question about just even from your sample size, what our dollar amount is. And then the other question is like on page 16 of 29 of the report, it talks about the administrator. So that 3.2 million that the administrator received to administer the program, was that's a percentage of the 32.6 million. So just specifically for these programs, there was 3.2 allocated for it.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Kniezek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Who was that third party administrator?
It was Guy House.
I know. I've got a few if that's okay, Madam Chair. And the total award was the 32.2 million. Did we expend all of the dollars that were awarded to the county? We did.
Close.
Do you have-
I don't have the final like general ledger, but I know we spent 20 million, close to 21 million on the rental assistance portion. 672,242 went to Samaritas. Lakeshore Legal did 800,000.
So do you think it's fair to say maybe, yeah, well, I guess the 21, the 600, the 800 plus the 3.2 that went to the third party to administer. So a couple $1 million we probably left on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. Just had to return that to the feds, or we just need to do a drawdown from our.
Yeah,
some work?
we got, we're, our grants department is, currently closing it out as well, so
Okay.
it'll probably get returned.
Okay. And then of that, say 21, 23-ish million that we paid out, do we know how many households across the county benefited from that?
4,915 across 41 communities.
And I think I remember when this was going through before, like this does not impact the city of Detroit, right? They got their own direct dollars. Do we know which two?
Well,
one
Detroit
or
got
which?
some funding from it. I'm not really sure. There was like a, tranche 1 and tranche 2, and, we worked with them. I came in like at the very end of the program, so
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Do we know which communities then didn't receive?
No, we were just talking about that. I got to look at because I have the list of who got it. I got to see who's missing, but
You got to memorize all 43.
yeah.
If you can just follow up, that's fine.
Okay.
And then the last one, in the cases like Commissioner Peterson Mayberry was talking about, where there was erroneous payment made, any clawback or recoupment provisions that we had to follow? If we don't do that, does it fall on the county to make up the difference?
I would have to look into that. I'm not sure what the results of that would be.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, we have to look into that and see.
Okay.
If we had to recoup that. I don't think so, but I don't want to answer that,
Right.
100%, but we'll let you know.
That'd be helpful. Just from, I think, liability standpoint, if we have to go off and do all that work, the headache that'll be, I think, for everybody. And if we don't do that work and just end up eating it on the GF side of things, obviously that'll impact our budget making process too. So just a couple follow-ups, but listen, I know things are moving a million miles an hour back then. I know you guys weren't the group that were there, and we're just always trying to make things better. So appreciate the Auditor General and their work, and appreciate our Economic Development Department as well. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, discussion? Commissioner Peterson Mayberry.
Just one follow-up. So we know who the third party is, but I guess to Commissioner Knisik's question too, so there's no recourse for the individuals who kind of were left holding the bucket for this responsibility piece that we know. I mean, we kind of know that administrators were in place in terms of oversight, but is there any legal recourse for the individuals?
Legally, we have to get with corp counsel to find out if we can have any legal recourse for the individual. So when we look into Commissioner Knisik's question, we'll piggyback that one with it and that, and see if there is some recourse to recoup.
Okay, I think it'd be helpful just to see if that's possible, because for residents, they just hear what happens and then there's never any accountability for the individuals. And for others who are sitting on the sideline thinking that they may also be interested in doing such an act, if there's no recourse or accountability for individuals who do so other than a smack on the wrist, then I think it just puts us at risk for future opportunities like this. So thank you.
Agreed.
Okay, do I need, is there a motion Commissioner Clayton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, a couple of my questions have already been answered. It's noted in the report that applicants could self-attest to eligibility requirements such as income, et cetera, et cetera. Where does that rule come from? Is that part of the federal, they send you money and then the feds say, these are the requirements? But people can self-attest to them. You don't have to look at them.
Yes, I mean, we went by the federal rules of the funding.
So the federal rules say people can self-attest. We don't need proof. We don't need people to have documents. Ken.
I'll take an answer from Commissioner Kniezek.
We're blending.
But
There
you-
was several, I mean, they did have to submit numerous documents, proof of,
Yeah.
leases and things like that, but there was other areas that they could self-attest to, yes.
But the basic question is the feds say, fine, they can self-attest and you can send them the money.
Yes.
Yes.
We've had experience and up at the state too, when the feds dump these large sums of monies on you and say you've got 6 months to kick them out and you got to start from zero. I note Senator Ann Arbor, Jeff Irwin, now has a bill in saying we're not going to recollect the overpayments on what was that, unemployment, I guess. That was also, so we see this when the feds dump these monies. Recertification. And looking through that, of course, there's issues all through here. One of the comments in here, and it was quoted, and this is on page 14 of the record, recertification invitation was sent to participants who had previously been awarded funds because, quote, additional program funds were available. So who makes that call? Is that something the third party, I guess in this case, Guidehouse? Or is that a call that the county makes to send out, hey, we got more money than we thought, and so we're inviting you to come back in. How does that get handled?
Well, I honestly couldn't tell you how it got handled back then. My assumption would be that the third party would have took care of that, since that's what we hired to take care of the situation. But I honestly can't tell you who made that call at that particular time.
And for the Auditor General, the quote says additional program funds were available. Who said, who made the call that there was additional funds available? Did the county department say, hey, we've got additional funds, go back out there, Guidehouse? Or does Guidehouse make that decision on their own?
Based on our discussions, we understood that it came from the department. But again, I don't think those officials are here to say yay or nay. But at that particular point in time, I would say we believe the call came from the department. Because again, they had this mandate to spend. Program funds were available.
Yeah.
And
but you have to do it in a certain way. I understand the issue. On page 16 of the report, second paragraph from the top, there's a reference in caps to program administrator. Is that another term for Guidehouse?
Yes. And if I could also add too, during our engagement, Guidehouse was let go or contract was not renewed. So they were no longer available for discussion.
Well, that was another comment I had, is by the time you were doing your audit, Guidehouse was gone. So there's nobody to talk to.
Pretty much.
And I don't know if it's a legal question, but they were hired by the county to do work on behalf of the citizens. And even though they are no longer under contract, our auditor can't go back and look at the work they did and question them. I know I'm dumping something on legal here, but they can just say, no, we're out. We don't have to talk to nobody. We don't have to answer for what we did. We don't have to.
But through the chair to this honorable body, so most county contracts have a 7-year time period, sometimes 10, to allow for an audit.
Yeah.
So I don't know specifically what this contract had in it, and if it had anything specific as far as the audit. I mean, it's very possible that the county held all of the records necessary for the audit. So maybe there was a determination made that Guidehouse was not necessary because the county housed and had the records. But again, not knowing all the specifics, it's hard for me to comment on this specific contract or situation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because this commission fights year after year on these contracts to make sure that there's a audit clause that are included in all of them. And according to the AG's report here, not necessarily all the information made it back to Wayne County Economic Development, that there was paperwork missing. And I think we have to look at that question of audit clause. And I would think that would give us the basis. One of the bases is for going back and talking to them about, how come you didn't turn in all the paperwork? It's a very disturbing report in so many ways. The other thing I'll just comment on, because we've had changes in leadership midstream, changing horses, all that kind of stuff. On these third parties, when you look at the recommendations on these control deficiencies, it's like, how did we not have a proper internal control system, including but not limited to review, monitoring, and approval procedures are established prior to the program's implementation by a third-party administrator. And I'm not going to read them all, but they all, they all talk to this, about the oversight of these, perform periodic reviews of third-party administrators, and management's like, yeah, we ought to do that. How does this stuff move forward and not have the proper oversight from the county of these third-party, I'm going to guess, for-profit contractors? Shouldn't that be something that catches our attention? We better watch what they're doing with all this money that they're, and doing the checks from time to time, just like the auditor does here, and go, wait a minute. How did this happen? How did that, all the things that are mentioned in here. So how does that happen that we don't have the oversight in place before we start this? Because now we're backfilling.
I agree. And I don't, in my opinion, those things should not have happened, and it should have had oversight. And that's why we agree with the AG's recommendation that if we do have go forward programs like this, that we do have the proper oversight and management to control the control deficiencies.
Well, let me ask you this, because the county is running pretty lean, shall we say, for employees and having enough, and that causes us problems everywhere. And then when upper management changes every year or two, that's also difficult. Do you have the capacity to do the oversight on these third party?
Yeah, we got the capacity, and if we don't have it, we'll obtain the capacity.
Yeah, Commissioner, if I can add a little bit too, with one of our programs, what we have done is incorporated the audit team up front into one of our programs again. So we are getting kind of feedback as the program go on, where we're able to kind of make some adjustments.
Well, I think that's why, because that's added capacity there, more eyeballs on it. And this won't be the last time the feds blow into town and say, here's $300 million, figure out how to get this out according to our rules, which say you don't have to verify income and that kind of stuff. So you're given a lot of money in murky rules and a timeline to get it done. So this isn't going to be the last time the county is going to face something like this, or if it comes from the state, for us to be prepared for. It's just not a good look of stewardship of the dollars, and it's all up and down. It's all up and down the chain. The feds aren't blameless in this. We're not blameless, but we don't have the capacity to administer the program ourselves rather than going to someone like Guidehouse.
I mean, apparently then, no.
Would you have it today? Would you be able to administer it in-house?
Yeah, we can. If we have that program today, we can administer it in-house.
Because I think that's all much more preferential to have public servants administering the program. And again, not a for-profit third party to come in.
Yeah, we would have to, I mean, if a program came, we would have to review all aspects of the program and see what's the best way to handle it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you'll be consulting with the AG.
Of course.
Commission Council has a comment.
Through the chair, just looking back at staff analysis when this contract was approved, staff did note that the program didn't require the submission of written lease agreements or certification of occupancy to verify that there was a rental arrangement between the landlord. And we noted that we weren't sure how the department were going to track the rental payments. We noted that the landlords, landlords, it was something else that they were in agreements. I'm trying to read it real quick without reading the whole thing. But we did know, I guess my point, when this program was initially approved, some of the concerns that you're noting now regarding the fact that certain items were not required to be verified, and that it wasn't clear based on the documentation and discussions with the department at the time that they even knew or had a plan to how they were going to track some of these payments.
And I
Thank you.
appreciate that, Council. I didn't go back and look at the original. But that's even more so because every time one of these things happen, the scammers are out there looking for a way to do this. By the way, is this still open? Can I apply?
Marcy?
I just want to indicate, as far as the auditing of this, we did have access throughout the engagement to the database. It was the guidehouse used to administer the program. The problem is there was such sloppiness in the database. It was hard to determine documentation, what happened. And then it came to a point where there was nobody from guidehouse available for discussion to answer any questions we may have had. But the actual audit documentation in the database was available. But if you have bad information in the database, it's hard to.
Madam Chair, I think we need to look at that audit clause. And thank you for the time.
Thank you. All right, any last questions? Can I need a motion to receive and file?
Just real quick, through the chair,
yes.
Commissioner Kaniza, the two communities that did not receive any funding were Sumter Township and Woodhaven.
All right, not mine.
Please make it.
I'll make the motion to
Thank
receive
you.
and file, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
Wilson did. I second his motion.
It was slow on that. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, supported by Commissioner Colleen. Please vote on your tablets. Fine. Okay, there we go.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it. Madam. Yeah, Ron. Madam Clerk, next item.
Good job.
F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Okay, I have none. Next item.
G, public comments.
Is there anyone here who wishes to make a public comment to the Committee on Audit? In person, on Zoom, on the phone? Any emails?
No emails were received and no one on Zoom indicating that they would like to speak.
All right, great. Second call for public comments. Third and last call. Hearing none. Next item.
Adjournment.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Moved and supported. All those in favor of adjourning?